Hey,
Come on, y'all, it's time.
Come on, come on, let's go, let's go, let's do it.
Rolling on the road
With the doc,
rolling on the road,
with Dave,
rolling on the road.
with the doc.
100 shades of the versatility with Dave and Dr.
All
Verity.
right, all right, that was
Oh,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
hey,
let's
yeah.
go. That was
All
nice.
well, good afternoon. I'm sorry. I get excited every time I hear it. This is our fourth year being on, and we finally got, a theme song. And this is your first time hearing it. What do you think about it?
I thought it was for real. Somebody was there really singing, saying, come on, let's get this show on the road.
I love it. I love it. Um, I am so excited for you to be here on today. Many of you know Heidi. She's been here a couple of times over the 4 years. This is Heidi Zeller. She lives in Muskegon, Michigan, and she is a Army veteran. And we were talking a little bit. I love it because it says, you're backstage in the green room when you come into StreamYard. But I have her here. Hopefully, Dave will come in pretty soon because he knows how to do all the other parts. I have all of these pictures. I want to say as far back, I got some from 2018, maybe 2019. That's what I saw of you and I together.
Wow.
I've got some pictures with you and I together, and I just wanted for the people to see the different times that you and I have been together and how you've had my six. So the one from like 2018, 2019, I had on my Miss Wheelchair USA crown and sash, and you are right next to me, like holding on to the wheelchair. You were in that one. I have one of, I don't remember what year it was, but I got an award in Muskegon. There's Dave. There he is.
Oh,
Opa.
Opa. Hello, Heidi.
We were talking about the impetus for the show is from, I went to the VA December 29th to get my battlefield acupuncture, which I have in. It's not just, people say, oh my God, you got those pretty gold piercings. No, that's therapeutic. It's my battlefield acupuncture. And on that day, there was a veteran that was in a verbal altercation with a VA nurse. I do have permission to talk about it. I got a release from the Wyoming Outpatient VA Clinic, powers that be, and just can't say, people's names, of course. But the veteran was upset because he was there because he was threatening to commit suicide. And so his father had brought him in. And anytime a veteran threatens to commit suicide, they are immediately either escorted to Battle Creek to 39-2, or they are sent here to a local facility, Pine Rest, or they can go to Mary Freebed has an inpatient suicide um, program. And so they're taken to either one of those places if they're not transported over to Battle Creek. He was going to be ported here. And so the police had already been called. The facility had already been called. And I don't know what happened down in mental health. However, when he came out, we have what we call like 4 clinic stations. So he had passed the blue team. He was up to the red team where I was when I saw him. And he was asking very nicely for a VA nurse to please give him some space, that he was willing to go, and be committed. He just needed some space. Well, from the outside looking in, it looked as if the VA nurse was taunting him because he thought it was funny that this guy was getting just so upset over nothing, when he knew the rules that you can't leave the mental health clinic if you are suicidal. And everybody was watching this. They got really loud, and the veteran's arms got to flailing, and all I could see was him cold cocking the VA nurse, and it was just going to be a done deal. So me, being me, wheel over. Now, mind you, everybody knows I have two wheelchairs. I have a manual. That's my Mercedes. And then I'm in the Bentley right now. I was in the manual, the Mercedes, and I get in between these two men. I say to the veteran, I said, "Do you feel safe right now?" He says, "I do not." I said, "I don't either." I said, "Come on." I said, let's come over here and talk." And so the nurse says, "Well, he can't go anywhere. He has to come back to mental health." I said, "Right now, he doesn't feel safe, and I don't feel safe." And I said, "He can come and sit right here." And then one of the VA workers went over to the VA nurse, and she's like, "What's going on? How can I help you?" And he goes, "Well, he's threatening suicide. He needs to come back. We're supposed to follow them. They can't leave out of mental health." Well, make a long story short, I play music in my bag all the time. Heidi's like, "Yup." And especially when I go to the VA, because you never know what type of situation you're going to find yourself in. And music really calms people. So I'm playing this really calming music. And I said to him, "I need you to listen to the music, and I need you to tell me what it is that you do for your mindfulness." And he goes, "Well, I thought that I was doing it." He goes, "I asked for space and he would not give me space." And I said, "Well, you have space now." I said, "How can I come alongside you and help you?" And he goes, "I don't have a problem with having myself committed." I said, "So you're threatening suicide?" He said, "Yes." And he says, "I just don't like being attacked." He says, "My father has been abusing me all my life, and he is down in mental health. And now this guy is following me, and he wouldn't stop following me. And I told him that I would go to the facility, you know." And we had a long talk. I put my hand on his back. I asked him, "Was that okay?" He said, "Yes." And then as he saw the police come up, and I said, "Is it still okay?" He said, "No." And I said, "Well, I think that you're making the right decision if you want to go. And my job right now, I just need you to do your mindfulness. I need you to, I need to make sure that you still feel safe." He says, "I do." And I said, "Okay." So what I did was, I don't shake hands since COVID. But what I did was, I put a little, sanitizer on my hand, and I reached out and I shook the police officer's hand, and I said, "Hey," I said, "my name is Dr. Kimberly." I said, "My friend here," I said, "needs your help." I said, "He doesn't feel safe, and I need you to make him feel safe right now." And he said, he reached his hand out to the veteran, and the veteran said, "Hey," told him his name. And I said, "Do you feel comfortable?" I said, "Being with the officer?" He said, "I do feel comfortable." So then I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm gonna let you guys have a conversation." I said, "As long as you feel safe." I said, "I'm gonna roll away now, okay?" I said, "Is it okay if I roll away?" He said, "It's okay. I feel safe with him." I said, "All right." So there were 13 people who were watching this. And the person that I was supposed to see to get my battlefield acupuncture said, "What prison did you work in?" I said, "None." She's like, "You have some really great skills, and you de escalated that situation beautifully, because it was not going to end well." And on January 3rd, of course, the powers that be called me and said, "Hey," I went down to, when it was all said and done, I went down to patient advocate, told them what happened, how I felt that it could have been handled a whole lot differently, where it would not have gotten to that point. And She relayed it all back to the director of mental health. They went over everything, talked to everybody, and then they made a phone call to me January 3rd. We had an extensive conversation. And when it was all said and done, I asked, for permission to talk about this on the show. And he says, I think it would be awesome. And it's an honor. I do appreciate how you were able to de escalate the situation. I have Heidi here because she is an Army veteran, and me, I'm a Navy veteran. And I sent it over to Dave. I had all of these pictures of different times over the years where Heidi, we call it having your six. You want to explain to them what it means to have somebody six?
Well, I tell you, we never used that in the Army when I was in. This is all like a new phrase to me, but it's just the same meaning as having your back, watching out for you. Just like what you did was let that guy know he was safe and that you had his back, that you were watching it, and you did it. One of the things about that story that really resonated with me was the nurse saying he knows the rules.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you what, when you've been triggered, when you're in that mindset, there is no rules. And I liked how, I don't know, maybe in the VA's mind, you broke the rules, but you broke the rules to let that other fellow veteran know that you had his six. You were watching out for him. And that's what having your six means to me.
Dave, how many times has someone come into, disability advocates frustrated, angry because they haven't gotten the services that they felt that they needed?
Oh yeah, I mean, there was a incident, or a person came in, September, October, and he had a long history with trying to get assistance, and I mean, when you're homeless or unhoused, unfortunately, your main option is to go to a shelter, and some people choose not to go to a shelter, which to me then begs the question, why don't people want to go to the shelter? Why don't they feel safe? The question you asked the gentleman at the VA is like, do you feel safe now? However, so anyways, back to the guy here. I mean, just without disclosing too much, because I don't have permission, he was deaf, and continues to be, and he is a immigrant to the United States, so there are written English barriers as well. And so we partnered with Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services, which is down the hall, and staff spent a lot of time with him. I spent a bunch of time with him, and that idea of sometimes, I mean, it's not a foolproof method, but at the same time, just spending time with people, trying to truly hear them and understand what they're saying. That doesn't mean you have to give them everything they want, but it means that, hey, I hear you. I hear what you're asking for. However, and at the end of the conversation, it's like, the best thing we got is to get you back in line to get in the shelter. I mean, we don't have a shelter. We don't have dollars to give people to get a hotel tonight. I mean, that's just not who we are. We refer to the community partners that do those things. And he was, he moved forward, and at least we listened to him, and to help him. He did not get anywhere near your incident today, but at the same time, there was some de-escalation going on.
I would say another thing that came to me about having your six is you're letting the other person know they're not alone.
Yeah.
That is so important to me, is not letting people know that they're alone.
Yep. Yep, and that's Shayna said in the comments, showing others you care, because you're demonstrating that, you're listening. Um, as I like to say, I have enough of, my pastoral counseling training long, long ago. It's just reflective listening. What I hear you saying is this.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody says, whatever, it's a beautiful sunny day outside, it's like, well, I hear you saying it's a beautiful sunny day today. However, in Michigan, it's drizzly, rainy, crappy day. I mean, how do you honor somebody? Say you might feel it's a sunny day, however, that
The
might not be a
reality.
very good
The
example, but
reality.
this is the reality. And in those situations, um, I guess the question back to you, Dr. Kimberly, is like, did you feel supported by those other 15 people watching you? Clearly not by some of the VA staff, but it's like, when we met with this gentleman, we made sure there were a couple of us together. Um, we've had enough training internally, is like, making sure you're sitting between the person and the door, just, not getting trapped in those situations. And the good news is, knock on wood, for the most part, those happen very infrequently around here. At the same time, we still train and practice what do we do when things need to be de-escalated, who's doing the de-escalation and that stuff. So anywho, but back to my question to you, Dr. Kimberly, did you feel supported by anybody in that area?
No, no, not in that respect. Um, and not in the moment, but afterwards, when they told me what they saw, it made me feel supported. And I don't even think that I really paid any attention to them. I just saw what the situation could turn into, and that the nurse was being antagonistic. This man is on his last leg, and they give us tools to be able to problem solve. And he was clearly using them. And for the nurse, especially from that department, to totally disregard what this young man has been coming in to learn, that I felt he lacked emotional intelligence. And that's what I told his boss. I said he lacked complete, you know, um, emotional intelligence, because somewhere it should have said, look, this man is trying to use his skills. Let me give him some space. The way everything was set up anyway, he could not have gotten out of the building, because they had the transportation there waiting on him. They had the transportation waiting on him. The police station, we have one right, a Wyoming police station right inside the VA, that's near the door, and everybody was on alert. And so what, one person kept saying to me from that department was, hey, if he had left out of there and committed suicide, the VA would have been liable. And I said, I understand that, but however, comma, that is not where he was in that moment. In the moment, he said he needed a breather. He felt like he was being verbally accosted by all of these people. Nobody had his six down there. He was with his father, who brought him in, who he felt has been abusive to him. And then here's another person, the nurse, who he felt was being uh, abusive towards him. He needed some space. And the thing about it, he was still willing to go to the facility. What did Shayna say?
Oh, Shayna just said, Ms. Heidi Zeller, what advice do you have for those that may struggle after serving the country and not receiving their full benefits they deserve? We'll get to that question in a moment, Shayna. But back to that, the incident at the VA, want to make sure we give that its due. Again, I mean, this isn't to toot our own horn, but I mean, we practice such things. We talk through so we're prepared. And the surprising piece is that the VA wasn't prepared well enough in the most basic of things, like you said, just some emotional intelligence, where the the sad truth is, the irate truth is that way too many veterans are taking their own lives because they're not getting the support and benefits they've earned when they come back stateside. And and so and for a VA clinic not to be fully prepared from attitude to, I mean, it sounds like they had the procedures. Once you say, I'm
Suicidal.
yeah, I'm suicidal, I'm thinking I'm gonna kill myself, okay, here's what we got, here's the process, but then the process has to be surrounded by care and support, one would think, as opposed to, it's not like it's boot camp. I've never experienced it, but I've seen it on TV. It's not like it's boot camp that the two of you have survived through, where they get to scream at you for X number of weeks. This is way past boot camp. You don't need to scream at somebody or treat them less than, less than a purely respectful manner, the way you did. I mean, again,
Well, this is what was explained to me. And, I'll get to talk about it further on, I think it's tomorrow or Thursday, the person who was talking to me from the clinic. And they said to me that I needed to understand that they are held in a very high standard when it comes to veterans committing suicide. And they are not to leave that clinic if they claim that they are suicidal. Because if they go out and they commit suicide, then everybody's, gonna crash, heads are gonna roll. And the example that they gave me was that there was a veteran who felt suicidal. They worked through, they thought, the issues, but when they went home, someone else killed them. They did not commit suicide. And when the VA found out that the person had died, the clinician did everything they were supposed to do. And the person didn't die of their own. Someone else did it. And I don't know if they felt that they had somebody else to do it or if it was violent. I mean, they didn't give me all of those details. It's just the story that they tell. And as a reason to the nurse to, how do I want to say, to tell me why the nurse's behavior was valid. And I said, there's no story that you can tell me to make that valid, because if you saw it and there were 13 other people who were watching this who felt the same way, that the nurse was antagonizing the veteran and was causing the situation to escalate and not de-escalating the situation, then where does he have the room to pivot and use his emotional intelligence? And they said, well, according to the VA rules, there is no space to pivot. You want to say something about that, Heidi?
I'm just trying to picture me being in his shoes and having 13 people standing around watching this. I mean, it's just, I can't fathom being in that moment, in that struggle, in that crisis, and having an audience.
And nobody said anything. And so, me, and one of the things that was said to me, well, we've had veterans to think that, oh, I'm a veteran and I could just put on my cape and swoop in, and they really file things up. And they said, but you seem to have done a really great job. And I said, well, I am a veteran and I always will swoop in to help a fellow veteran. If I see something, say something, I'm going to do something. And we have spent a lot of time with this advocacy. I mean, they even, for me personally, when I had to be in a wheelchair, I had my stroke, and they sent me to Disability Advocates of Kent County, and they make you go through this 24-month training on how to now adapt to your environment now that you're disabled. And so you do 24 months. They give you this like this little chart of all these things that you have to check off and get done within 24 months to say, okay, now I understand what it means to be disabled, and this is how I know I need to live life. So to me, that's teachable, it's transferable, and in there, there's some ways to advocate for yourself. There are ways to de-escalate situations, even for yourself. You know, if I'm going through moments where I don't like my life, I feel like I want to commit suicide. Okay, they give me a list of things to go through, who to call, what to do. And if you're given that, and then you come up against a person like him who is antagonizing you and not giving you an opportunity to do that, then what are you supposed to do?
You did it. You did
And I
it.
wasn't going to leave him there to either kill somebody, kill himself, kill somebody else, and then kill himself and change. Hell, I already live with PTSD. I don't need another, another PTSD incident. I guess that's the best way I want to put it. And Shayna says,
Yes, yes, step in if you can, help others. Please don't leave anyone behind. So it
that we
is,
don't.
yeah. Yeah, and again, the way you recounted the story from this morning, you weren't rolling in to like tell people what to do. You're rolling in to ask people what the situation was, honoring where they were at, and as we've already said, that you helped them understand that you were listening, and at that moment they weren't feeling listened to, and they were overwhelmed by the situation, which only made things worse. And then they're like, but we're trying to do this by the books. We have to do this by the books. And it's like, folks, you need a better book if you can't, right? I mean, you're laughing because it's true.
I know. I like
Yeah.
to use the hip once in a while.
Yeah.
It's from the hip.
Yeah, it's just like there has to be these parameters to say, yeah, I mean, absolutely, we're gonna have let this person go, and then to say, well, and we're not going to let them go outside by themselves. D coats, the D is in the house, the D coats, as well as the Detroit. Go Lions. But anyways, Dr. Kimberly did not change the colors from purple to Honolulu blue. I'm just going to say that. But anyways, but yeah, they could and should. Yeah, Shana said, you never know what someone's going through. Please don't judge or give up on them. So yeah, I mean, you can, some would say the book says CYA, cover your, and
Well, okay. So I felt like the VA workers were kind of like, I don't want to say being a bully about it, for me to understand, even though, it was okay, kudos for de-escalating the situation. However, the nurse was doing their job. He was doing his job. I said, how is he doing his job if he's escalating the situation and he's being antagonistic? He's following this guy. And I said, there was even a point where he just starts laughing about it. Okay, this is not a laughing situation. This guy is about to cold cock you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he's at his limit. And even though the veteran didn't understand when I said, so the nurse is being a trigger for you, he didn't grasp that. His response was, I asked him to leave me alone and he wouldn't. And he wants me to come back to where my abuser is. And I can't do that either. Where do I get a break?
Yep.
Well, being the devil's advocate here, I'm hoping that that nurse gets some training. He had his eyes wide open. Maybe he's never been put into that situation before.
Well,
this was his first experience, and I'm hoping that he can learn.
Okay.
I'm just saying, hope.
Okay, a couple of things. When I went down there to find out his name so that I could go to patient advocate, I find out that he had gone back to the office and said that 2 veterans were yelling at him and he didn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
That he was having, so, he's having this crappy day because 2 veterans are yelling at him. And of course, it was unprovocated. Man, I just was, breathe, Kim, breathe.
Ain't no fixing that.
Breathe.
Right.
Ain't no fixing that though.
So
Yeah.
I lost it. When
it's one thing to CYA going by the book. It's another thing by CYA bending the truth and trying to tell
and pointing fingers.
Exactly.
It wasn't me. Oh, it wasn't me. And pointing fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the clerks at the mental health clinic, they was like, "What? Watch this. Girl, let me take. Okay, hold on. Let me break this down for you. Okay, this is name. This what time you work, and this the number of the patient advocate. We finna call down the patient advocate for you. I mean, they were just like, yes, please tell.
Mm-hmm.
Please.
So that wasn't his first incident.
No. And so what happened? You know how news travels. They say good news travels fast, and bad news travels even faster. I didn't realize that I had so many people that loved them some Dr. Kim up there at that VA because I was getting texts. People were checking around. When I came out, there was a crowd of people. I was like, what is going on here? They were all clapping. They were like, good job. We heard what happened. We have a gold team, a green, a blue, and a red. Everybody heard. And they wanted to know, are you okay? And they were like, did you tell on him? Because this is what you need to do, because we don't like him anyway. And they started to tell me other incidences. And then they started naming out other VA employees that do similar things to veterans. And I was like, wait a minute, what? Not my VA, and I did appreciate the clinician that I had to do my my battlefield acupuncture. She was like, I think you just need about 5 minutes to sit here after we finish, and you just need to do some USA, because I just want you to know. She goes, if nobody tells you, you did a damn good job. And yes, she said, because I worked in a prison, and she said stuff like this would happen all the time. The guards feel like they're really in control, and they like to do little things to the prisoners, and then they get upset, and then we have this big situation. She says, and then they have to come down to me, and I need to bring them back down. And she says, you did an excellent job with that situation. All I want to know, she says, were you scared? I was like, it just happened too quickly to be scared. And I said, I was more afraid for the people that were there, because I could see how this could play out. And, I think about, I'm telling you, there were so many things that went through my mind. I even thought about how far away, we weren't that far away from the anniversary of the insurrection of all of that just went through my mind. And I said, not on my watch. Not on my watch.
There you go.
Not on my watch. Somebody's got to have his 6.
Yeah.
That just made my heart smile when you said not on my watch.
Not on my watch. You just, I think about over the last 4 years. Well, this is coming into the 4th year. When we think about all of the things that happened during the pandemic, I even thought about the Floyd situation. And I said, where was there a Dr. Kimberly in that situation?
You can't put that on you, sister.
No, I'm not. I'm saying
I get
Yeah.
it. I get it.
But
I mean, that's a lot of weight.
But wasn't
there
there
should have been a
enough
Dr.
people?
Kimberly there.
There were a couple people like in
Sure.
the videos that came out, like they were yelling at the police, hey, get off him and stuff like that. And unfortunately, that incident, and there have been others that, we unfortunately have seen, that everybody has escalated to the point they're not hearing anybody. And so it's most interesting when we talk about de-escalation, and then the Patrick Leoya situation here in Grand
Yes.
Rapids. On a positive side, because as we noted last week, I got to know Dr. Kimberly's dad, Bishop Walter Durham, because he was chair of the Friend of the Court Advisory Committee for many a year. And when I was county commissioner, I was on this Friend of the Court Review Task Force. I became a member of that committee. And so, long story short, the undersheriff is part of that committee. And so I said, because the main reason we had this review committee is the sheriff, we got a grant to send a couple deputies all over the county, including the inner city, to enforce support warrants or bench warrants for failure to pay support. And our biggest concern was, what's the cultural competency of these deputies? And having deputies just showing up, knocking on doors, it's a whole different response, but any of us, when a law enforcement person knocks on your door, what's that response? So all that being said, we were able to ask the undersheriff, like, what are you doing for use of violence training, de-escalation, all that stuff? And we actually heard all kinds of good report from the undersheriff here in Kent County, that they teach deputies, because if you're going to, and unfortunately, a lot of these situations are going to be domestic, disputes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So much of violence is domestic, people who know each other and all that stuff. And so if you're a deputy on your way to somebody's house, your backup might be 20 minutes away. So you're driving there, you're not getting geared up like, woo, get ready to jump it. You're like de-escalating yourself.
Yes. I think that's the point right there.
Yeah.
Was that he wasn't doing that. He was all geared up to be confrontational with this guy.
Yeah.
And say, okay, you know what? You're gonna get back there, and this is the rule, and no matter what, I'm just gonna enforce it, and it doesn't matter. And I'm like, whoa. And almost as if I heard about these situations and I've been waiting for my turn. You know how it is, Heidi, when okay, so for me on a ship, we practice weekly fire drills. They can be fun at times, when they say, okay, we got a fire here. Everybody gets to run around, put on their, their boots, their hats, and grab these hoses and pull them out and go through all of this. And you're waiting for the time for the fire to be real, so that you can just like, yes, we get to do this. Even when we play war games, they are fun. Trust me, war games are really fun. The way you do them, you go through all of this training, because you get to watch all this crap on TV, but then to actually be a part of it, and you go through and you say, okay, boom. We even have props on the ship, so they have where somebody, if they're designated to be wounded, they have people that have gunshot wounds, so they'll put on a prosthetic with a gunshot wound. You'll have someone whose intestines have fallen out, and you got to put them back in and pack them. And so they have a prosthetic that they'll put on where they're coming out. It's even got the gushy jail stuff that looks like blood. I mean, they make it real. They even put, something on somebody's leg to show that the bone has been broken outside of the skin, and how to, repair all of that. And then, all the lights are out. They have water coming on board. I mean, it is fun. You got the Marines running around with their guns, and it's
you're making me, you're bringing it back.
Okay.
Using toilet paper rolls as hand grenades, and
yes. And then when it's all done, you have a big fish fry, because somebody's been fishing off the side of the ship, and they've caught some wonderful. We're in the middle of the ocean, so we're getting some great ocean, food, and they're going to bring it, and we're going to have a great fry when this is all said and done. So you can imagine when they say this is not a drill and it's the real thing, everybody is amped up because we've been practicing forever. And that's kind of how it felt. Like he was all excited because he's been waiting for this moment. And yep.
I have a question. The VA employees wear lanyards. And I'm just curious, did this nurse happen to have a service lanyard on, or was it just a straight up VA one?
A straight up VA one from what I could see. I didn't see.
That says a lot right there.
That part. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So to explain it to our listening audience or viewing audience, that some of the employees are veterans, and so they will have on they have to wear their credentials 24/7 the whole time they're on campus. And so on their credentialing, if they are a veteran, they will have on a veteran lanyard stating what their service is. And then they can have some of their service pins on there. And then they will have service pins that they've earned since they've been a part of the VA system. If they are a civilian and they have either a spouse or a child or a parent who has served, then they'll have that. And then there's usually like some kind of tag that lets you know that it was a family member. And then you have those that don't have diddly crap. They just have a VA one. That means they just regulars.
That says a lot to me as a veteran going into the VA. I do. I look at the lanyards to know if they've, walked the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Dee said.
Yep. Thank you for that information. No, I didn't know that. Because then back up to Shayna's question about people who are struggling to get the benefits they have earned. Look for your local. I mean, Kent County, we have Kent County Veterans Services, which is a county agency. It used to be the Soldier and Sailors Relief Fund back in the old-timey title, but now it's Kent County Veterans Services. And their main job is they have veteran service officers who help people review their service records, determine which their things or what they're eligible for. Because as a state, and I know we've reported this statistics a couple times on this show, as a state, Michigan ranked 53rd in the percentage of eligible benefits being received. We were behind like Guam and Puerto Rico. I mean, you say, Dave, there's 50 states. Well, you count Guam, Puerto Rico, and a couple of the territories. We were 53rd, meaning, and this is money people have earned and they're going to spend in the Michigan economy. And so, I mean, Governor Snyder put a proper emphasis on the fact we got to help people, a huge root of stress is lack of funds. And if there's funds available, that's sitting out there because, again, you've earned them through service to our country. Dang it, get applying. And then, I've heard stories of veterans that sometimes a sister or will take them by the ear and bring them out to the VA because, because as we've learned here in some of our internal trainings at Disability Advocates, the first thing they teach you at boot camp, right, is don't ask for help. And so this is drilled by the drill sergeant into your skull. Don't ask for help. And then you get out and then I don't have to ask for help. This isn't help. These are benefits you've earned, So
well, that's the stigma with the veterans that and that was even my own stigma for 20 years. Is that we didn't want to take away a benefit from somebody else who needed them more than me.
Yep.
And until I finally developed the courage to go to my county veterans place, it was explained to me, no, look, you signed the dotted line. you drew up a contract with the United States government, and all you're doing is asking them to hold up on their end of the deal, and that's to take care of you. You've
Yep.
already completed your, and I never looked at it that way.
Yep.
And I do know that that is a real big stigma amongst veterans,
Yeah.
is that
especially women
deserving.
veterans,
yeah,
Yep.
especially with the women, because they think that, if you call, people believe that a veteran is an old white man
that fought in war. That's
in World War II. That's it.
No, at least maybe Vietnam. Maybe Vietnam now.
Yeah.
well. Speaking of women, I just had an 81-year-old Air Force veteran reach out to me. That didn't even know that woman veterans existed per se. She didn't even know that we have a woman veterans memorial in DC at Arlington Cemetery. And she was even there before at the cemetery. She didn't even know that existed. And wow, it's working is what I'm saying, is the word of mouth, woman veterans using our voices, and it reached this 81-year-old Air Force veteran through a friend of a friend to reach out to me. And I have the chills as I'm telling you this story. But yeah, we've talked a few times, and now I've got her filling out an application for Mid-Michigan honor flight for women veterans only. Yeah.
I love it. So Dee says, she said she doesn't have a veteran in her life. I guess she didn't realize that I was a veteran. I don't know.
If somebody don't know you're a veteran, whoa.
They're not listening.
Like, really? I mean, on the back of my chair, it says, United States Navy, but I don't know. But I think I can do this. Add to the stage.
Here we go. So this, I'll hit play on it.
Who, you do or I do?
I have to hit play because it's on my computer. Here it goes. Ready, folks?
Oh, Lord.
Look at that.
Look how big I was. Oh, Jesus. Look at her. She's at my house.
Nice.
The things you wrote me into, Dr. Kim.
That's my favorite picture right there.
Oops.
Hey, wait a minute, Dave. Go to the one where she's not that one. The one where we're at the Amway Grand Plaza.
Before this?
I think so. Go back one more. This one. So this was May 17th of last year. I went home and I finished packing up my bags, got up the next morning. Tommy Allen came and got me. Tommy Allen came and got me that night.
That night, yeah.
Yeah, from, because you brought me home, didn't you?
Yes, it was like you had a 15-minute window, 30-minute window.
Yes, so Heidi brought me back home that night and got my bags together. Tommy came and got me. We went to Ann Arbor that next morning. I had a heart attack the next day. That is crazy to look at this. Like, oh my gosh, we're sitting at this table and then I have a heart attack.
You were probably having a heart attack then and didn't even know it.
And Dave, what did he tell us? We had my cardiologist on and he says you can have a heart attack for up to 12 to 24 hours.
So I'm saying, yeah.
Now, what was the event that's on the screen?
This is West Michigan Women, their awards.
Ah, got it.
Yeah, last year, the year before, what did I get it for? I won one because Dave made me work.
But you had submitted Zanetta's name.
Yep, and she won I nominated her for Woman of the Year and she got it.
Yep. She won Woman of the Year for West Michigan Women's.
And that just, when I saw the picture, I was like, man, the next day, the next day,
But I got your 6.
but she had my 6. Yeah, you do.
Good
But
stuff,
hey,
folks.
I wanted, speaking of getting the 6, about this West Michigan honor flight that the first time they've ever done it for women veterans. And you reach out to midmichiganhonorflight.org, get signed up for it. And I talked to the Robert Green, who's in charge of it, last night. They have enough guardians, which they call caregivers. They have 35 honorees, which is the veteran. They need 75 more.
What is it, and how do people get eligible or signed
They're
up?
a veteran. You have to be a woman veteran. You have to be a woman veteran, and it goes from June 11th to the 13th. I found out that they're flying out of Flint. He said because it's cheaper. They take them to D.C. to visit various sites and so forth in D.C., one of them being the Woman Veterans Memorial. And then upon return on the 13th, they have a ceremony for the honor flight of veterans coming back so they could go see the Vietnam veteran wall, maybe the changing of the guards at Arlington, so forth. But yeah,
That would be a nice going on the road trip.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely that, and send us more information. We'll get it out across our network, across the state. We'll put some stuff up on these, the sites that Dr. Kimberly keeps up to date for the show. But definitely getting that word out, and especially, most importantly, like due date, so that people know they gotta giddy up. It's like it's June 10th, and it's like, oh, is it too late? Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, is having your 6, is me giving this information, because a lot of times we don't hear about the information, let alone just for women veterans.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just another way of having each other's 6.
Yep.
It's
Get
honoring
information
each other.
out.
Yeah, it's honoring each other. I love it. I really love it.
And I love you.
I love you. Well, friends and neighbors, time flies when you're having fun. It is 4:52.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, well, it's always great hanging out with you, Heidi. And we didn't mention earlier, our good friend Ronnie Richardson said hello. Ronnie is greatly missed here at Disability Advocates. As one of the things we lost by moving way out here is that Ronnie can't volunteer with us anymore. But we miss you too, Ronnie. It's awesome to hear your comments and that you're still with us. So yeah. Thank you again, Heidi. Thank you for your service. And as importantly, thank you for continuing to hang out with us and get the word out there that, come on, veterans, there's help out there. Ask for it. Ask for help, and asking for help. If you need help, asking for help. So let's do it.
Okay.
Last
it means
question.
we got your back. We're looking out for you. We got your back, D.
We got your back.
What happened was that in World War II, when they were in flight and they were fighting against the enemy, that when the planes were being attacked, those that were in the formation would come up behind them at their 6.
Which is the on the clock.
Yep.
12 o'clock is straight ahead. 6 is
considered in the back.
Yeah.
And so that means that, hey, they come up behind and say, hey, I got your 6, and they're protected and they got their back. So that's where that comes from.
So it's the position of a clock. 12 o'clock straight ahead. 6.
And 6 o'clock is in the back. So
yep.
You are more than welcome. It's our pleasure to help. I think we talked about that at the very beginning of the show about having your 6. So now it's just been coined into a phrase that for anybody who's a veteran or military, that, hey, I got your 6. And I appreciate you for always having, my 6. And I mean,
Back at you.
all the way over from Muskegon. We even, the one picture that you saw of us, she had a bus to come and get me. And my husband was like, "Oh my gosh, it even matches your outfit." And he says, "Nobody but you, Kim, could get, something where it was matching your clothes." I said, "Heidi did that." My husband and Heidi, those two together. Oh my gosh. Oh, you can only imagine
Only imagine the good things.
That's
Good
right.
those two together.
We bumped elbows. We rubbed elbows.
And truly, and the two of them, they definitely took care of me together. And she's really stepped up since he's been gone. But she sent a bus to come and pick me up, and it was just beautiful as a service that's over in Muskegon. And I said to the lady, and I was like, "Well, how much is it?" She goes, "Uh-uh." What did she tell me? She says, "Heidi told me to tell you that she's got your six, and you don't have to worry about anything. My job is to come get you from Grand Rapids, bring you over here, and then bring you back safely." And I said, "Oh my God."
That was Zanetta's doctorination party.
Yes. She got her for the celebration for the job in Washington, where she is now.
Undersecretary for
Yep.
Intergovernmental Affairs for the VA. Yes.
Yep.
Nice.
So that's how we do. Made sure that we were all there. Zanetta was like, "I need all you guys there." I mean, even when they, wow, sorry, that just kind of,
I know it takes you. It takes you.
ooh, that she invited us in to the White House, and her husband and her children were there, and then she could only have two guests, and it was Heidi and I who were on the screen there in the White House.
Oh, the Zoom?
Yeah. And Heidi got to speak and I got to speak. So
Awesome.
I don't think it was me, because I sure don't remember that.
You don't remember talking?
No, but that could be the TBI. I don't know.
Yeah, you did. We were in the
I'm
White
saying
House.
the stuff you guys wrote me into, I can't remember it all.
That's our job, is we're just roping.
Exactly.
Yep. She did.
She'll do it. Oh, Heidi, she'll do it.
Yep. Roped her in, and
Because I got your six. That's why Heidi will do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I love y'all.
Love you too.
Thank
but
you,
she
Heidi.
did speak in the White House.
Thank you.
See you, Dr. Kimberly.
All right. See you guys next week. Uh-oh.